Hello. Please like and subscribe. Thanks. You are the best.
Title: The Hidden Truth. Growing up, I had an incredibly close relationship with my sister Rose. We were raised in a loving foster family after a troubled start in life. Our biological parents were drug addicts who often neglected us, leaving us at friends' houses for days while they partied. When my biological mother was pregnant with me, she continued her habits of smoking and drinking, but fortunately, I was born healthy. When I was a few months old, our parents left Rose and me at a shopping mall and never returned. We were discovered by an elderly couple who helped us contact the police. The authorities couldn't find our parents, and their last known residence looked uninhabitable. After spending some time in foster care, the kind couple who found us decided to adopt us. Now an adult, with Rose significantly older, I still live close to our foster parents, and Rose lives just a short drive away. I visit her multiple times a week, maintaining our strong bond. Recently curious about my heritage, I took a DNA test at a friend's suggestion since Rosa seldom spoke of our biological family. The DNA results were surprising. I learned I had significant Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry, and also discovered I had an aunt I never knew about. Eager for answers, I reached out to her, let's call her Janet, and we agreed to meet. During our meeting, I noticed we shared similar physical features, like our hair color and eyes. Curious about her family, I inquired about her siblings. She revealed that when she was young, her sister Rose got pregnant while intoxicated, gave birth, and ran away with her drug-addicted boyfriend shortly thereafter. Shocked by the story, I requested to see a photo of her sister. Janet took me to her parents' house where I saw the photo. Instantly, I recognized Rose. It turned out, Rose was my biological mother, not my sister. She had orchestrated our foster care and subsequent adoption to ensure I had a stable life, which she felt unable to provide due to her youth and circumstances. After all this, however, my heart felt heavy. I felt like I could burst at any moment. I went to my best friend's house, told him everything, and stayed there for a week. I told my parents and sister that I was at my friend's house because we were both enjoying a new game that we both liked, and I wasn't talking much to Rose. One day I decided to visit her unexpectedly. I took a picnic basket with me to surprise her and spend some time together. When she saw me and was happy, I asked her to sit down because we needed to talk. I started by saying that I knew she had a secret she had been hiding from me. Her face turned red, and she began to cry. She knew what I was talking about. I told her about the DNA test, about Janet, and everything I had shared with you guys in the previous post. When she calmed down a bit, she told me the truth. She explained how she had gotten drunk at a party and slept with a guy who was just into drugs. The guy didn't care about a future child and was like, "Whatever happens, happens." She continued to tell me that 10 years ago, her boyfriend had been stabbed in prison because he was involved in drug trafficking, assault, and armed robbery. She also told me how her mother had convinced her father to persuade her to give up the idea of keeping me. They fought with her continuously until I was born. When I was born, they immediately told her that she had brought shame on the family and that they would not help in raising me in any way. She explained that she learned from her friends and juggled between working and taking care of me. One day, after a huge fight, she told her parents that if they were not going to help financially or in any other way, she and I were better off without them. That night she escaped from her room, hitchhiked to a neighboring country, and by morning she was there. She took care of me for a few days in an old house where homeless people used to come and go. When I started crying at the mall, she also started crying, and a couple immediately came to our aid. She made up a story on the spot and created a fake identity. The police found out we were not in the system. We stayed in foster care for a year and a half, until the couple who helped us decided to adopt us so we wouldn't be separated. It took them a few months and a couple of lawyers, but they managed to adopt us both. She told me she knew that her parents were looking for her. She informed them through a letter that she was fine and taking care of herself. She told them she was never coming back and that they should stop looking. After some time, they stopped searching. After hearing this story, I told her that we missed a lot by not knowing she was my mother. I told her I understood that what she did was the right thing. I pulled out a baby picture from the picnic basket and some snacks for a late celebration, and we hugged for an hour or so, had a lot of fun, watched a movie, and then I went to my adoptive parents' house for dinner. I am glad she is my mother. For the first time in my life, I feel complete. I don't mind that she lied because she did it for the greater good. I can't imagine my life without her now. Emily and Jack met in the least romantic setting imaginable, a delayed flight from New York to San Francisco. Both were frustrated, tired, and just wanted to get to their destinations. But as fate would have it, they ended up sitting next to each other, and what started as a shared eye roll over the delay turned into conversation, laughter, and an undeniable connection. Over the 6-hour flight, they discovered they had much in common. Both were in their late 20s, worked in tech, and had a love for classic rock and bad puns. By the time they landed, they had exchanged numbers and promised to meet up in San Francisco. Their casual coffee meetups quickly turned into daily necessities. Within months, Emily and Jack were inseparable. They attended concerts, explored local eateries, and took weekend trips along the coast. Everyone around them could see the spark. They were not just lovers, but best friends. 1 year after their chance meeting, Jack proposed during a hike in Marin County, overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge at sunset. It was picturesque, heartfelt, and perfect. Emily said yes without hesitation. Their story seemed like a fairy tale written in the stars. As they dove into wedding planning, Emily noticed a change in Jack. He became distant, often distracted, and his phone was always on silent or face down. She tried to convince herself it was just pre-wedding jitters. But one evening, Emily saw a text pop up while Jack was in the shower. Message from someone named Mia. Can't wait for Saturday. Emily's heart sank. She scrolled through more messages, all of them friendly and a bit too familiar for comfort. When her husband came out of the bathroom, she couldn't hold back her tears. He noticed his phone in her hand and the messages on the screen. He came out of the bathroom and saw her upset with his phone in her hand. He looked worried, but didn't ask why she was crying. He just tried to calm her down, saying it was nothing. Days passed, and he kept hiding things. She felt more alone and worried about who Mia was. She didn't confront him. She just kept thinking about it, feeling sad and anxious, spending hours wondering about Mia and what was happening behind her back. Then Saturday came, and she decided to see what was really happening. She decided to follow him when he left the house. He drove to a lovely little house on the outskirts of town. She watched from a distance as he met Mia. They didn't see me. At that moment, she felt like it was crumbling. She drove back home, heartbroken and furious. Later that evening, he returned home to find her packing a bag. Emily was devastated. She called off the wedding and moved out of their shared apartment. The next few months were a blur of heartache and healing. She leaned on her friends, returned to her hobbies, and slowly put herself back together. Emily realized how much of herself she had put into her relationship, and how little she had left for her own passions and dreams. 3 months had passed since Emily moved out of their shared apartment, her heart heavy with betrayal and confusion. As she continued to rebuild her life, focusing on her passions and her art, the doorbell rang unexpectedly one evening. When she opened the door, her breath caught in her throat. It was Jack, looking as anxious as she felt. "Emily, we need to talk," Jack pleaded, his eyes searching hers for a sign of willingness. Emily, guarded yet curious, led him into her living room. "Before you say anything, please hear me out," Jack started, taking a deep breath. "That day at the cafe when you saw me with that woman, it wasn't what it looked like." Emily, skeptical, folded her arms, her defenses up. "It looked pretty clear to me, Jack." Jack hurriedly explained. "She's a real estate agent, Emily. I was looking at apartments because I wanted to find us a better place, something bigger, so I could surprise you. It was supposed to be a gift for our wedding. I realize now I should have just talked to you about it." The sincerity in his voice made Emily pause. "A real estate agent," she repeated, the weight of the revelation sinking in. "Yes, I can show you the emails, the listings we discussed, everything. I never meant to hurt you. It was all a misunderstanding, a terrible one. And when you left, I didn't know how to fix it because I didn't understand what I'd done wrong at first." Emily felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her: relief, confusion, and a lingering sadness. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Jack looked down, ashamed. "I was embarrassed. I wanted to give you space because I thought that's what you needed. I didn't know how to begin explaining, especially when I thought you wouldn't believe me." Seeing his vulnerability, Emily's heart softened. She considered everything: his explanation and his evident remorse. "I need some time, Jack. This is a lot to process." Jack nodded. "Of course. Take all the time you need. I just needed you to know the truth." Over the next few weeks, Emily reflected on her feelings. She checked the information Jack had given her, and everything checked out. The woman was indeed a real estate agent, and the listings were exactly as Jack had described. The pieces of the puzzle finally fit, but the break had changed something fundamental between them. Emily invited Jack to meet again, this time in a park where they had first confessed their love for each other. Sitting on a bench under the sprawling branches of an old oak tree, they spoke openly about their feelings, their fears, and their future. "Jack, I believe you," Emily started, her voice steady. "And I forgive you for the confusion, but these months apart have taught me a lot about myself." Jack listened intently, holding on to her every word. "I've grown, found a passion for my art again, and learned to be by myself. I'm not ready to go back to how things were. I need more time," she confessed. Jack, though heartbroken, nodded in understanding. "I love you, Emily. I'll wait for you as long as it takes. I just want you to be happy." Time passed, and Emily and Jack slowly rebuilt their relationship, starting as friends. Emily thrived in her art, her exhibitions becoming popular around the city. Jack supported her, always in the background, cherishing their newfound friendship and respecting her space. Eventually, their friendship blossomed into something deeper once again, but this time, they were both wiser, more understanding of each other's needs and boundaries. They learned to communicate better, ensuring no more misunderstandings stood between them. A year later, Emily and Jack decided to give their relationship another chance. This time around, they were more transparent with each other, sharing their thoughts and decisions, no matter how small. Emily felt so silly for thinking it was something else, but also relieved. They spent the whole night talking about the new house and making plans. They also decided to communicate more openly to avoid such misunderstandings in the future. This incident, though it started with tears, ended up bringing us closer together, reminding the importance of trust and communication in our marriage. It was a lazy Sunday afternoon, my only plan being to relax and catch up on some movies. Just as I settled in, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Last night was amazing. I can't wait to see you again." Confused, I thought it was a wrong number. After all, my Saturday was spent at home alone. Out of curiosity, I responded, "I think you've got the wrong number." The reply came quickly, "Come on, Mark, stop joking. It's me, Sarah." But here's the twist. I'm not Mark, I'm Jason. Mark is actually my friend, engaged to be married soon. It appeared there was a serious misunderstanding, or worse, something secretive going on. "I'm not Mark. You've sent this to Jason," I clarified. There was a pause. Then came the realization from Sarah. "Oh no, this isn't Mark's phone. I'm so sorry. I must have typed the number wrong." Curious and concerned, I decided to probe a little. "No worries. But how did you get my number mixed up with his?" Sarah explained. "Mark said he was using a new number temporarily and must have given me the wrong one by mistake. I didn't save it yet and just typed it from memory." The pieces started falling into place. Mark had been using my spare phone last week, while his was getting repaired. He must have used it to communicate with Sarah without leaving a trail on his regular phone. Feeling a mix of betrayal and responsibility, I called Mark directly. Hey Mark, Sarah texted me by mistake thinking it was your number. She mentioned last night was amazing. Anything you want to tell me? Mark was silent for a moment, then sighed heavily. Jason, I messed up. It's not what you think, but I can't explain right now. Can we meet and talk? We met at a quiet park bench, far from the usual crowds, where Mark looked like he hadn't slept in days. As he spilled his secrets, the weight of his actions became apparent, not just in his words, but in his weary eyes. Jason, I've been seeing Sarah for a few months, Mark confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know what I want anymore. I'm terrified of making a huge mistake with Emily. I listened, nodding slowly. You need to tell Emily. It's the only way forward, Mark. She deserves the truth. Mark agreed, reluctantly. You're right. I'll talk to her tonight. When Mark finally decided to confess his mistakes to Emily that evening, she stopped him with some news of her own. She was pregnant. The room seemed to spin for both of them as the weight of her words sank in. When Emily told Mark she was pregnant, he looked really worried. That's when he told her about Sarah. Emily felt very upset and sad. She loved Mark, but she was hurt because he had lied to her. Sarah felt bad about the mistake and wanted to say sorry to Emily in person. Emily wasn't sure if she wanted to meet Sarah, but she decided it might help her understand things better. At the coffee shop, Sarah said she was really sorry. She didn't know about Emily and Mark's engagement. Emily listened but told Sarah that the problem was about trust, not just the mistake. After the meeting, Emily needed time to think. She requested space from Mark, needing solitude to unravel her feelings and the future of her relationship. During this period, she frequently visited a nearby park, a quiet place where the whispers of nature seemed to bring clarity. As she watched families playing together and couples walking hand in hand, Emily reflected on what she truly wanted. Could she forgive Mark? Was there a way to rebuild what had been so carelessly shattered? In time, Emily decided that the love she had for Mark and the family they could still build together was worth fighting for, but it would require real change. She proposed joint counseling as a condition of reconciliation, a space where they could work through their issues with professional help. Mark agreed eagerly, committed to doing whatever it took to restore Emily's trust and build a stable home for their child. The counseling sessions were difficult, often emotionally charged, but gradually they began to understand and forgive. Going to counseling was hard, and they had many tough talks, but it helped them understand each other better. By the time their baby was born, they were getting along much better. They were learning to trust each other again and were both happy to start their family. Sarah moved on with her life too. She went back to painting and started helping kids learn to paint. It made her feel good to do something helpful for others. One evening, watching her baby sleep, Emily felt that even though things had been really hard, they were getting better. She was glad they tried to fix things. She learned a lot about forgiveness and trust.
My fiancée is threatening to cancel our wedding unless I agree to let her parents move in with us after my grandfather's passing. Since inheriting most of his fortune and a sprawling estate he fondly called his hunting cabin, I felt overwhelmed. The property is more than spacious enough to house both our families comfortably, but the thought of living with her parents unsettles me, leading to an explosive argument between us. She insists they join us, promising to sign a prenup in exchange for a nicer ring and yearly vacations, a clear sign that her intentions with me are pure. This situation might seem trivial or like a rich people problem, but my life changed drastically just a few months ago. Before the inheritance, I was living paycheck to paycheck in a tiny apartment, working a minimum wage job at a supermarket, and staring down decades of college debt. My fiancée continues her work as a nurse, and we've been living together harmoniously for several years. Our relationship has always been straightforward. We met years ago, and from the start, we handled conflicts maturely, discussing our differences calmly and finding solutions together. Our dreams have been in sync, building a life together, growing old, and enjoying our time until the very end. However, my relationship with her parents has been strained from the beginning. They never hid their disapproval of me, which has cast a shadow over our plans. When my grandfather's health declined, I became his primary caregiver, sacrificing my job to ensure I had enough time for him. This period was a testament to our relationship's strength, although it brought immense stress. With my grandfather's estate now under my name, I've suggested that my parents move in, allowing them to retire peacefully without financial worries. My fiancée supported this, but proposed that her parents join us as well. I couldn't hide my reluctance, given our rocky past. Her perspective is that living together could mend old wounds, but I'm not interested in reconciliation. The rift between us deepened to the point where I considered not inviting them to our wedding, which only ignited more tension between us. Despite knowing the full extent of our troubled history, my fiancé believes that time and proximity might heal our relationships. Amidst all this, I've been distancing myself, caught up in meetings with lawyers, accountants, and wedding planners, and spending nights at my grandfather's grave, seeking solace in memories and solitude. This reflection has made me postpone the wedding, not as a bluff, but as a necessary pause to evaluate our compatibility and future, especially our relationships with our respective in-laws. As I grapple with these emotional burdens and the echo of my grandfather's passing, I've considered therapy to navigate my grief and stress. My next steps are to continue managing my new financial responsibilities wisely, pursue further education in business and economics, and find balance in my life. The solitude at the cabin has granted me moments of deep reflection and unexpected peace, allowing me to contemplate the dynamics of our future household and the possible daily interactions with her parents, whom I've historically struggled to connect with. These thoughts have been interspersed with more practical considerations, such as the logistics of living arrangements and how to maintain personal spaces within such a complex family setup. Moreover, the idea of my parents enjoying their golden years in peace contrasts sharply with the potential for tension with her parents, adding a layer of complexity to our decision-making. This juxtaposition has led me to further ponder the essence of family ties and the sacrifices we are willing or unwilling to make for harmony and happiness. Right now, taking time apart from my fiancée to think clearly about what we both truly want seems essential. The quiet moments alone at the cabin have brought me a peace that's been elusive for months. It's given me space to think about my needs, my values, and how I envision my future, possibly redefining what happiness and family mean to me. These contemplative periods are crucial as I navigate this challenging chapter of my life, aiming to emerge with a clearer sense of direction and personal integrity.
My name is William Kennedy. My wife is Victoria. She likes to be called by her full name. I'm William to everyone, even my boss at work. I work as a lawyer at a company that helps other businesses. It's a busy job, but I make sure to finish all my work on time. Victoria works from home for a company that makes books. She checks other people's writing and chooses her work hours, which helps her take care of our 3 kids. We have 2 girls who are 8 and 6, and a little boy who is 5. We are always busy, trying to balance our jobs, our kids' school and play, and find time for ourselves. We try to go out just the 2 of us twice a month, but we don't always do it. I thought Victoria was happy with our life. I worked hard, and we seemed happy together. But about a year ago, on one of our rare nights out, she started talking about feeling stuck. Chapter 2. A Big Idea. During our date, Victoria asked me, "Do you ever feel like we're missing out on things?" I was confused and asked her what she meant. She said she felt like we were stuck doing the same things every day, just working and looking after the kids. We hardly had time for just us. I suggested a short trip, just us 2, maybe to a beach. It sounded good to her, but she had a bigger idea. She carefully suggested that maybe we could try an open marriage, where we could meet other people but still stay married. I was shocked and didn't know what to say. She said it would just be for fun, with no love involved, and it might make our marriage more exciting. I needed time to think about it. This was a big change, and I wasn't sure about sharing my wife with someone else or meeting other women myself. Chapter 3. Trying Something New. After many nights of talking about it, we decided to try it for a little while. We made some strict rules to make sure we always put our family first. This was a new step for us, and we wanted to make sure it didn't hurt our marriage or our kids. It was hard sometimes. We had to talk about things like jealousy and what we were okay with. These talks were tough, but they helped us understand each other better. Chapter 4. A Big Surprise. Just when we were getting used to this new part of our marriage, something unexpected happened. Victoria got pregnant, and the baby wasn't mine. It was from the man she was seeing. Then she asked me if I could be the dad to this baby. Chapter 5. Making Choices. This news made us stop and think about everything. We talked a lot about what to do and decided to stop seeing other people. We needed to focus on this big news and what it meant for our family. This time in our life was very hard, but it also taught us a lot about how strong we can be when we work together. We learned to talk more and understand how we both felt. Ending, looking ahead. We didn't let this situation break us. Instead, it made us stronger, and we decided to rebuild our life together, just us and our kids. This story shows how talking and trusting each other can help a family get through big challenges.